Alright, in this video we are going to be doing this painting, and once you know, we'll just get right to it. First I want to start off by saying that this was like a really relaxing painting. Very low stress, very simple painting, so you can pop in the Kenny G, turn on some Bruno Mars, and really kick back and relax to this one because it's not very difficult and it's pretty fun painting. So I start off like I usually do with the sketch and the block in. I didn't go over the sketch with paint because I could see it fine without any paint, and so I just went face by face on the barn and blocked in each little area. So you're going to notice that I don't block in with the exact same color that it's going to be in the final painting. I'm going to end up going over a lot of it. I'm going to end up going over the dark areas with the darker color, as you can see, and the red area I'm going to make even brighter by the end of the video. So here I'm just focusing on getting sharp edges now, going back over the looser block in and really sharpening those shadowy edges. And don't make things harder than they have to be. Turn the painting. I turned it so I could get a better angle on it and really get a good edge. Just using a flat brush and giving it a sharp edge. Once again, turn it back over. Make things a little bit easier, because that edge is going to be really hard to achieve. Just trying to come from above with the brush, so just flip the painting over. And I can see where this really pops. It really starts to look nice, and by the end I thought it looked pretty good. And there you go, turn that sucker over, make it easier on yourself. Now I'm going back, making things a little bit sharper again here with these shadows. This took me a little bit longer than I would have liked, and I really had to get this on several tries, so but I was relaxed, not getting frustrated. Even if it takes a little bit longer than you want to, don't worry about it. Here I'm adding some more highlights. With these geometric type paintings, it's really important to try to get those edges defined. At least that's the look I'm going for. It may not always be the look you're going for, but I was really wanting a sharp the barn to appear sharp here, so Making sure I got those shapes defined was really important for this. And now I'm starting to put this like discoloration on the roof, which was present in the reference photo that I was looking at, but I'm just gonna, spoiler alert here, I end up painting right back over this, but I wanted to keep it in the video just so you can see the entire process. Like, things don't always end up the way you plan them from the beginning. And although I could have probably left this, I didn't really care for the look as much as what I ended up going with at the end, which you'll see later. End up covering it up. Here's some more of that highlight color on the barn face. This is actually the back of a barn, but it really pops out, really luminous. It's really fun to paint whenever you see things popping out like this. That's what really makes it enjoyable. That's what really gets your blood pumping. I ended up painting over this part too because those lines didn't really match the shape of the barn very well, so I ended up painting over that. But, you know, I'm going to keep it in there. You make mistakes, you cover them up. It's all part of the process. Some nice little details there on the barn door. And see here, I'm covering it up. I did leave a little bit of variation in the color of the roof. It's not just all one solid color, but I didn't keep it quite as splotchy as it was before. Now this was really fun, kind of painting some highlights on the wood so you can kind of see a wood texture on the barn. This is really fun. Adding some more shadows here and there. And then, oh, smudged it. I smudged that dark part, the shadow of the door, so, you know, we're keeping it loose, we're relaxed. We don't get mad, we go back, we fix it. No problem. Moving on. I was just sharpening the edge of that barn wall. Making things a little bit more luminous here on the side posts. Now I'm just adding these little supports from the roof that are sticking out. It's kind of a subtle detail, but it helps the painting a little bit, and I'm darkening the barn door because it's a little bit more in the shadow and it stood out more than I wanted it to. So here we're gonna leave a farm tool up against the barn. I don't know, this is could be a shovel, a rake, a hoe, who knows. There we go, there's a little shadow for it. And now I'm going back over the roof. At the top there. Now we get to add the highlights on the grass here. It makes things look good, makes things pop out a little. keeping it pretty loose here. Really not stressing how detailed this is. It's a small painting anyway. Just popping in those little highlights here and there. The sun's coming across, really lighting up that grass. So the next thing I thought to myself was, where is all this shadow on the right coming from? Well, it's coming from a bunch of trees if I looked at the photo, but I mean, you can't tell that just from the painting. Like, where's this shadow coming from? So I knew that I had to put some kind of indication of where that shadow was coming from, which is how we'll get to the next part. And so I started putting some indications of where the shadow is coming from, which is a bunch of trees. So on the right, I added some limbs here sticking out on the side. And these are pretty easy to paint. Just keep the paint thin and dark because we're kind of seeing the shadowy side of things, so I want to keep this dark. And if you think you've painted enough limbs, keep painting more because you probably haven't. At least that's been my experience. I used to leave tree limb areas and branches too sparse when there really should be a whole lot more sticking out. So I just keep going and going with this, keeping the paint thin, keeping it watered down. So now I'll start discussing a problem that I began seeing, which was the fact that we have a lot going on here on the right side. We've got all these limbs, we've got this big red barn face that draws all the attention to the right side, so I started thinking, what can I do to fix this, because I wanted something a lot more balanced. So first I started with putting this little tree right behind the barn here. That brings your attention over here a little bit. This tree's a little bit more illuminated, so I added some yellow and some white. And then here's the big one. Just put a tree right there in front. Bring your attention back to the left side of the painting. Started out dark here and then put the highlights in there later. At the end you'll see. So just taking your time here. And make sure, I mean, this might seem pretty obvious, but just make sure the tree gets thinner toward the top. And here I'm adding some highlights. And the black or the dark brown paint was still kind of wet, so it kind of messed up there. I didn't really highlight it too much, so had to wait for it to dry a little bit. But went ahead and started painting some of these more illuminated branches up at the top. And I realize my hand is like completely obscuring what I'm doing, but I'm just adding branches in the same fashion that I did on the right side and behind the barn. Just keeping the paint thin and watered down. Now coming back over with the highlights on the side of the tree where the sun's coming from. And the shadow that was already kind of there in the painting serves nicely as a shadow for the tree, and that was just that was not completely planned, honestly, but it worked out. And there you have it. That's the painting. Thought it turned out pretty nice. I was pleased with it. Hope you were able to learn something from it. Maybe you painted along, maybe you just watched for the enjoyment, but that you got something out of it either way.